Mm. Welcome back to Momplex. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so excited to talk about this topic. Ooh, we're going to be talking about the cycles. We're going to be talking about all the fabulous different versions that we are every single month. We're also going to be talking about perimenopause a little bit because I believe this is a massive miss of education that is happening in our school system. Yes, I will say it. California public school system, come at me. But I don't believe, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. For the longest time, we have been living a very linear life, right? You go to school from 8 to 4, you go to work from 9 to 5, you live on a 24-hour schedule. And a lot of us have been pushing ourselves really, really hard to fit into this schedule. I believe now we're going to be tapping into a much more appreciation that life is not linear and that everybody's cycles and everybody's timing and everybody's energy levels and everybody's passions don't necessarily follow a very rigid black and white path. I think we're going to start to see that there are more things coming out that are less linear. For example, online school. My daughter is in online school. If you had asked me 10 years ago, would you ever put your kid in online school? I would have said, hell no, of course not. She's got to go to regular school and this is the path she follows. But life happens and you realize, gosh, maybe everything that I thought, maybe I didn't know everything. And as I'm learning more stuff and as I'm growing and as my kids are growing and life is changing, I'm realizing life is not linear. And I believe that for women, this is going to be something that probably scares the shit out of a lot of men. When we actually become educated on our cycles and our energy levels and learning how to embrace all versions of us that show up each month, we are going to be unstoppable and we are going to take over the world. And I think that's something that a lot of people have been trying to keep us from doing. Not anymore. So, hey, badass mamas, welcome back to Momplex. You know it. This is the podcast. It's here to help you. We're like cutting through the BS. I'm here to help you step into your full power while navigating the beautiful chaos of motherhood, of work, of life, of being a complicated human being living in a human experience. And today we're diving into something that I know each and every one of you has felt, but maybe hasn't fully embraced it or spent a lot of time becoming more educated on it. We're going to talk about the 4 different versions of us that show up each month. This is applicable to you, even if you're in menopause, perimenopause, if you're a mom, if you're not even a mom, if you're a female and you have a monthly cycle, that is who I'm talking to. So trust that if you hit play on this, and this is for you. But we're going to talk about the 4 versions of us that show up each month. Yes, we're not one consistent version of ourselves all month long. And guess what? Every single version of you is a badass. So we want to stop labeling certain parts of our cycle as good weeks or others as less than. Why do we feel like we're only worthy when we're hustling on top of everything? Today, we're going to reframe that and we're going to find our worth and find our beauty in all versions of ourselves. So let's dive in. My name is Scotty. I am the creator and the host of Momplex. This is my baby. This is my passion. This is my love. I pour my heart out every single week because I am literally working on my own healing journey. And as I learn things that have helped me, I want to share them with you to save you time, to save you energy, and help you wake up each day stepping into that badass, highest version of yourself because you have this one beautiful life to live. And I want you to make the most of it. I am a Southern belle. I am a working mom of 3. I live on the West Coast. I'm very woo-woo. I'm very balanced with my energy and chakras and crystals, but I also have a trucker's mouth. So heads up disclaimer, I do cuss a lot. So here's the deal. Our cycles are very powerful. They're not just something we put up with. They're like our very own personal 4-part energy, melody, symphony, combination of beings. We go through 4 distinct phases each month. I'm going to round them up and say each one lasts about a week. But each one of those weeks, each one of those phases is giving us something different to work with. But here's where we mess it up. We've been taught to value certain phases over others. We've been taught to live in a very masculine world, a very check, 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 get things done, be active, be productive. And if you're not being active, if you're not being productive, then you're failing and you're lazy. So we've been told that we're at our best when we're pushing ourselves and when we're very productive and busy, energized, and killing it at work and killing it at home. But what about when we're feeling more low energy, when we're feeling more like I want to be on the sofa snuggling, we're feeling more emotional? Are those versions of us any less worthy, less valuable? And if you do feel like showing up less, like more emotional and a little bit less energy, if that does make you feel less worthy, I want you to ask yourself why. Where have you heard that message? Who's told you that? Because the truth is, you're not less valuable. Hell no, that's the part we've been getting wrong. And today I'm going to walk you through why loving all of your phases is the key to feeling unstoppable, no matter what part of your cycle that you're in. And how cool if you become more familiar with this, then you get to teach your kids this. And I'm not even talking about having a daughter. This is going to be helpful if you have a son who gets into a relationship with a woman, or a daughter who gets into a relationship with a woman, or you have women in your life. So let's dive in. Phase 1, this is the Superwoman. This is a phase. This is where we feel most like our high energy, our go-getter selves. It's the go time phase. This is when you're creative and you're full of ideas and ready to take on the world. This is the follicular phase. Like, this is the version of you that gets so much love from society because it looks like a picture perfect idea of success, right? This is the part of you that's like, check, 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 check. I got up. I went outside, I meditated, I picked the fresh vegetables from the garden, I'm making homemade baby food, I'm getting all my shit done, I worked out, I did this. I mean, like, you were on fire. But guess what? That's only 1/4 of who you are. She's a fucking badass. I love it. Embrace it. When you feel that surge, like, oh my gosh, I am a superwoman, trust that that's the phase that you're in. Take advantage of it. Like, allow that energy to drive you. Allow your creativity and you're full of ideas to come on and come through. But so is the next version of you that's coming around the corner. Phase 2, this is ovulation. This is known as the warrior queen. I love that. Gosh, I think we should just, hi, I'm not a mom. I'm not a woman. I'm a warrior queen. Can we just coin that from now on? This is when you're magnetic. Obviously, you're ovulating. You're like, hey, buddy, this is the time for you to come and like, we're trying to make some babies. Your confidence is on point. You're radiating energy that's everybody can feel, everybody's attracted to. You're in full on power mode, whether that's killing it at a work meeting, running the PTA, hosting a family dinner. It's a queen energy that makes you feel invincible. But this is more when you're in like an attract versus a chase energy. So just because you feel a little quieter later doesn't make you less worthy, right? Like, you're not necessarily going out there ball buster like you did in week 1, the Superwoman phase. You're still a warrior queen. You're just not chasing. You're more in this like attracting. So you're starting to let things come to you versus you going out to them. So you might feel a little quieter, but that doesn't mean that you're less productive and less worthy. I want to talk about that quieter energy, and we're rolling into phase 3. This is the luteal phase, the wise goddess. I mean, wait, can we just take a moment? Hold on for a second. This is how badass women are. Number 1, phase 1, the Superwoman. Phase 2, the warrior fucking queen. Phase 3, the wise goddess. Yeah. Yes. I want us to walk around. How are you doing this week? I'm in my wise goddess week. What week are you in? Oh, I'm in my Superwoman week. Amazing. This is how I want us to identify ourselves from now on. So week 3, the luteal phase, this is where things start to slow down. And instead of seeing this as a weakness, as a laziness, as a I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I want you to think of this phase as stepping into your wisdom. And there is a lot of beautiful inner wisdom already in you. You don't have to go find it. It's in there. This is the preparation phase. You're processing everything you just powered through. You're figuring out what really matters. Maybe you're feeling more introspective, more sensitive, but this is the perfect time to get clear on what your soul really needs. This is a perfect time for you to tune in. Hey, babe, how you doing? Hey, babe. Hey, wise goddess. You know everything. Tell me what it is I need to know. Tell me what it is that we need to do for ourselves. Share the inner wisdom with me. I want us to practice regarding this wise goddess, more introspective week as something that is as valuable as the other weeks. She's a badass because she's tapped into a deeper, quieter truth that we often miss and we overlook when we're in hustle mode, right? But this is probably one of the most challenging weeks because you're going to wake up with slightly less energy, and you're going to wake up feeling like you want to be under your blanket more. And even if the weather's pretty outside, you might wonder like, gosh, why am I not wanting to go outside and run those 6 miles like I had been doing? I kind of just want to do some stretches and lay on the floor and maybe do a little yoga or not work out at all. So there's a practice here where we have to allow the adjustment and seeing the adjustments not as weakness or as failures, but as honoring our needs and recognizing, oh, this is the phase I'm in right now. Phase 4, this is the nurturer. This is the menstrual phase. And here we are. This is the time when most of us feel the least like a badass, right? We're bleeding. We can't even swim as a teenager. I mean, gosh, when you first became a kid, I remember I got my period. I was 12 years old. I had been at a slumber party, and I woke up and my friend was like, oh gosh, Scotty. And she said, look at the back of your nightgown. So already I was like, I feel different. I feel weird. Everybody's looking at me. I'm not myself. I can't do everything everybody else is doing because I'm bleeding. And I didn't know how to put on a tampon. So I had to wear like this huge pad that was so uncomfortable. And I was scared. I was like, does this mean I can't swim? Does this mean I can't ride horses or ride bikes or go to school? Am I going to just make an ass out of myself? Right. So there's a lot of insecurity and a lot of us feeling not like we belong when we're in that menstrual phase, especially if you got your period earlier than other people or later than other people. You already attach this part of your cycle as a part of you that's separating you, that's excluding you, that's keeping you out of things. But here's the thing. When our bodies are bleeding, their bodies are asking us to spend time resting and reflecting. And that is incredibly powerful if we allow it to serve us in that way. So this is your body and your soul's way of saying, hey, you've been doing amazing things for the last 3 weeks. Now it's time for us to restore. This is like a nap for your female organs. It's a phase of letting go. It's a phase of allowing you to pause and reflect and gain clarity for the next cycle. And so if you think about it, that Superwoman phase, this is when you're out there making shit happen, right? Like you are out there soaring above everybody else and you're pulling some incredible, creative, incredible ideas. You're ready to take on the world and tackle it full throttle. And then you get into that phase 2, which is the warrior queen. You're still in this like powerful, I can take on the world, but you're doing it a little bit like not quite as aggressively. You're doing it more of like, hey, in my Superwoman phase, I went out there and I built and I created. Now I'm kind of wanting to see what I built and what I'm created. How is that working? And like, how is the energy around it? Is it magnetic? Is it what I want it to be? How am I feeling around it? Right. So you might still be killing it, but you're not killing it as quite the energy. So there might be weeks where you notice like, oh my gosh, I'm up with the sun. I'm running a marathon. I'm getting everything done. And then the next week you're like, I kind of want to walk. I don't want to run. So notice it doesn't mean you're not making shit happen. You're just doing it, listening to the tone and the energy and the cycle of your body. Because then the next one is that wise goddess, right? You've superwomaned it. Then you've been the warrior queen and now you're the wise goddess. You're like, gosh, based on all the shit I just built, how am I feeling? What do I need? I've just given a lot. I've just been like a cash flow out. What do I need to restore? What do I need to regenerate the muscles? Because then that's when you move into the menstrual phase, right? Like this is when you're truly like the women in the, early days, they would go all together in what was known as the red tent. Not only did they feel like they belonged, but they were really honoring truly in that moment what their body needed. I think a lot of times we tend to fight this version of us, right? Don't we? We resist rest. We think it makes us weak. We think it makes us feel left out or excluded or not as significant, not as powerful, especially if you're a woman trying to thrive in a man's world. I think what we're going to start to see moving forward with this new paradigm is that the power of that man's world is going to start to lose some steam. It's still going to exist, but it's not going to be the only world that we get to choose to live in. We're going to start to really identify that, wait a second, There might be pieces of that man's world that I want to incorporate in my world, but at the end of the day, I get to honor my world. And I think we're going to start to feel that, but it's going to start with how we look at ourselves in our own life versus waiting for permission from the world around us, right? If we're fighting these versions of us, if we're pushing ourselves beyond capacity when we are if we're pushing ourselves to be a superwoman when we're supposed to be in the nurturer phase, yes, we might be able to do that for a portion of time, but we're likely going to burn out. So what I want us to do is rather than fight it and see it as weakness, step back and look at it objectively and start to gather information about what phase might I be in? How can I honor that? How can I show up and honor this phase I'm in and truly take care of myself? Because if I honor myself when I'm in the nurturer phase, I'm going to come back as the strongest superwoman that I've ever been. And I'm going to get 3 times the amount done, 10 times more than what a man would, right? And it really is about working smarter, not harder. And it's really about honoring ourselves, right? Because imagine if we fully loved every version of ourselves as much as we love the hustle queen. Imagine if we embrace the quiet, the rest, and the pause. Because when you fully step into that phase, you unlock a deep power and insight that can only come from within and can only come when you give it space and honor to hear it. You're nurturing yourself for the next round when you're in that menstrual phase. You're preparing to rise even stronger. Now, I do want to take a moment. Let's talk about my badass mamas who are in perimenopause. I see you. I'm with you. I want you to know this. Just because your cycles are shifting or maybe even disappearing does not mean you're losing your power or that these different versions of you are gone or that you don't have the ability to honor yourself in these different versions. In fact, this is a time when you're stepping into a whole new level of wisdom and strength. In fact, they talk about women who've gone through perimenopause coming out of this like a fucking butterfly who has had a rebirth and renaissance. So a lot of women are coming out of perimenopause more confident, more bold, more strong, more clear, more like I get to make the rules than ever before. So it's really an opportunity for you to step into a whole new level of inner wisdom, self-trust, getting to know yourself and strength. Perimenopause can feel very unpredictable. Maybe, especially when you don't physically feel like yourself, if you're gaining weight, if you're having the night sweats, if you're not sleeping well, if you're having the headaches. I see you. I have been there. I've been working on this for the last several years. But I just want you to know this doesn't mean that you're any weaker or any more excluded. This is just a beautiful part of us that if we see it and use it, it can become a massive tool of power. Maybe you're used to these phases I just talked about with your menstrual cycle. And if you're moving into perimenopause, it's like you've got to learn a new language. And in a sense, you do. But if you actually even pay attention for even a moment, it's already your language. It's already inside of you. It's not like you're having to learn Latin. It's just actually listening to what your body's trying to tell you. So it's going to be a lot easier. It can feel like life is throwing you a curveball with the way your energy is fluctuating differently or your moods are shifting in ways that surprise you. But the truth is you're evolving into a fucking badass version. You're moving into an even more powerful phase of life where your intuition is heightened, your wisdom is deeper, your ability to know yourself at a soul level becomes even more crystal clear. It's a time to lean into all those versions of yourself, even when your body feels like it's rewriting the rules on you. It's just an opportunity for you to become a more expert on yourself. And I believe that the healthiest life we can live is the life where we know ourselves fully and in truth, the real truth. You're still all of these 4 versions I just talked about. If you're in perimenopause, it's just expressing in new and evolving ways. So if you're finding that your superpower energy shows up differently, or your nurturer phase feels more intense, trust that your body knows exactly what it's doing. Honor those shifts. Listen to what your body's asking for. Listen to what it needs and give yourself permission to be where you are, to be who you are, to feel the way you feel, and to honor where you are without judgment. And let me just say this, perimenopause is not a winding down. It's an awakening. It's this new power and insight and badassery you didn't even know was possible. This is the time to embrace your fullest self more than ever. Again, I'll say one of the healthiest ways we can live our life is to know ourselves fully and in our truth. So here's what I want you to take away from today's episode's mama. Well, first of all, I want you to trust that whatever I've shared with you that resonates the most with you, that is your intuition speaking to you. That is that inner goddess. That is that wise badass that's telling you, this is what we need. So first and foremost, I always encourage you to please practice listening to what is speaking to you and trust your intuition. And if I can encourage you to just remind yourself, you're not one version. You're not just the productive. You're not just the woman trying to survive in a man's world. You are not just the emotional sensitive you. You're not just the on top of you everything. You're not just the needing a break you. You are a whole, complete, cyclical being, and every part of you is fucking awesome. Every part of you is necessary. Every part of you has a purpose, and every part of you is badass. I want us to stop labeling any phase of our month and our energy as bad or less worthy. They're all so powerful. I mean, let's go back and listen to those names again. Superwoman, the warrior queen, the wise goddess, the nurturer. Are you kidding me? What? Those are incredible. Do you think there's like a man podcast going on that's talking about each phase they go through? No, there's just one word. I can't even think of it right now. Plus, I probably have some dads listening. And by the way, if you are a dad listening to this, you fucking rock. Thank you so much for spending the time to not only just open up your own airways and be open to new ideas and new conversations and new thought, becoming a new thought generator, but thank you for respecting that your wife is a badass, complicated, special human being that is special every single day, not just in certain phases. You are a whole, badass, incredible, complicated, beautiful being. And it's time to love all of you, whether you're in the superwoman, the warrior queen, the wise goddess, the nurturer, or perimenopause or menopause. All are badass in their own right. And when we learn to embrace them all, that's when we truly become unstoppable. I love you. It's incredible. I really wish they had these classes. Maybe they have them in some colleges, but I really could have used this information when I was in middle school and high school. This probably would have changed the trajectory of my life. If this episode hit home for you, please share it with a fellow mama who needs to hear this message. The more moms I can reach, the better. The more we can learn how to accept and embrace all phases of ourselves and truly take over the world and become the best role models for all of our children. And if you're ready to take this work deeper and start loving all versions of you, you know where to find me. Book a soul reading, binge the podcast, go follow me on Instagram, and let's start this journey together. You fucking rock. Love you.